Hello everybody, welcome to the week 1 recap, Northville versus Lake Orion. This game was promised to be an absolute banger and it absolutely delivered. The prep kickoff classic, Wayne State University, Northville Mustangs versus Lake Orion Dragons. I'm just banging out all the keywords while I can. Since it's week 1, there's nothing to talk about really from the preseason that I haven't already mentioned. So we're just going to jump straight into the recap. I also made a YouTube short that's a quicker recap of this game. But yeah, this one, a little bit more detail and a little bit more highlights of some of the moments that weren't just scores. Anyway, let's jump in. To start this prep kickoff classic, Northville wanted the ball and they got it. And they had just about the most perfect first drive that you could probably ask for in a game like this. Against these tough opponents, Northville love to use as much clock as they possibly can. And this first drive took 7 minutes of game clock off the board and ended with a Max DeFore touchdown. Riker Gorman on to kick the all-important extra point, and he nails it. Northville take the lead 7-0. Lake Orion, very similar game plan to Northville. We kind of knew going into this that this game was going to be played primarily on the ground. Lake Orion's first drive ends in a turnover on downs. Both teams would exchange a few of those throughout the night. In the second quarter, Northville would find themselves in Lake Orion territory again. This time, they would attempt a field goal, but this field goal is blocked. And the holder, MJ Fortuna, pretty much saves this from being a Lake Orion return touchdown. On the ensuing drive, Lake Orion put it together. They've got some big runs on this drive. Number 26, James Bambard. Number 4, Brody Thomas. But it's the quarterback, Anderson Adams, who runs it in for himself. And Lake Orion score in the second quarter. Sam Powers on to attempt the extra point, and he gets it. So this game is tied 7-7. Northville's last drive before halftime. Cooper Durketch, the quarterback for Northville. We know he can just take it for himself and get a lot of yards. He does that. Also makes a great connection with Camden Brown. And they take a shot at the end zone on the last play, but it's ruled incomplete. The ball made contact with the ground. It was intended for Camden Brown, but that ends the first half tied 7-7. Lake Orion with the ball to start the second half, but the Northville defense holds strong. 3 and out for the Dragons. If you were a fan of Northville last year, you probably clenched your seats at this moment because this is Cooper Durketch going down. And if you remember last year, injuries, such a big part of the season. But he does walk off the field under his own power, and we would see him later in the game. But on this drive, we would see the backup quarterback, potentially a glimpse into the future. This is Grayson Harris. But ultimately, Northville would be forced to punt on this drive. And a bit of a scary punt. Very nearly set up Lake Orion in great field position. But Riker Gorman gets this one away. Now it's the fourth quarter, still tied. Durketch back in the game. We get some great catches from Camden Brown, who I mentioned earlier, but also CJ Bird. I think we're going to be talking a lot about those guys as the season goes on. Cooper Durketch gets ever so close of making it into the end zone, but on the next play, tush push in, touchdown Northville, and Riker Gorman with the extra point. Northville takes the lead, but Lake Orion get a huge burst of momentum because on Northville's next drive, they get sacked on 4th down at the 50-yard line. A huge pass to number 88, Ryan Rushlow, on the Lake Orion side, and they move down the field quickly, and with 47 seconds to go in the game, touchdown, Lake Orion, James Bambard, and on to attempt the extra point. And there's a reason I've been showing you these extra points all night, because this is blocked by Northville's defense standing tall, quite literally standing tall to tip this ball. And at this moment, it looks like Northville is going to come away with this game All they need to do is recover this onside kick. Lake Orion, admittedly a very cool play because they bring in 2 kickers and fake them out, and Lake Orion recover this onside kick. Now, it's always fun when we get to throw a little bit of knowledge in the middle of these games. We don't see recovered onside kicks very often. The kicking team cannot recover an onside kick and advance it. Once they recover it, the play is blown dead. So even though this onside kick was recovered and advanced about 20 yards, they placed the ball at about the 38-yard line. But Lake Orion, man, in the stands, it really looked like Lake Orion was going to get this one. They played the best they have all night right at the end of the game. But a crucial mistake, Lake Orion would get a holding penalty that would take them pretty much back to where they originally spotted the ball. 4 seconds left in the game, and Lake Orion bring on the field goal unit. But Northville uses their final timeout. And on the south side of this timeout, Lake Orion would bring their offense back on the field with time for just one last play. Adams takes the snap, hurls it towards the end zone, and it's intercepted by Austin Magaro for Northville, a name we will be hearing a lot this year. Seals the win for Northville, and Northville's defense stands up yet again. They had a fantastic night. I can't imagine what it would be like to be on the sideline for this game because that last 47 seconds felt like 10 years for me. But wow, what a way to end week 1. Let's talk about some of the other games I went to in week 1. This is the rare opportunity where I'll get to go to multiple games in a weekend. The other Thursday prep kickoff classic game against Clarkston and Belleville. And you know what? I thought Clarkston had a good shot in this game, but I did not expect it to go quite like this. Clarkston have a lot of good players. Griffin and Lucas Bowman were up and down the field all day. For me, Clarkston immediately shoot up into the top 5 for Division I rankings. This is a great team. They play a really tough schedule and still make the playoffs pretty much every single year. So keep an eye on Clarkston. This could be their year. As for Belleville, if you're a fan of Belleville, I wouldn't be too worried just yet. There is a lot of talent on this team still, and it just didn't quite go well. It is week 1 after all. There's only so much you can practice, and the real game scenarios are where you learn the most. So I would expect them to still be bound for the playoffs. I think maybe like a Franklin or like a Dearborn, maybe the crossover game. That could pose some trouble for Belleville. Yeah, not a great week 1 for the Tigers. It's the first time they've lost in week 1 since 2015. And the other game I went to, Catholic Central versus Chippewa Valley. Catholic Central absolutely put a beat down on this game, 47 points in the first half, and we had pretty much a running clock in the whole second half. What can you say about Catholic Central that hasn't already been said? They're good. They're really good, and they're going to be fighting again this year. I think they got a chip on their shoulders this year because I think they could have beat Hudsonville in the championship game. They'd been able to beat Cass Tech. I think they could have been champions, and I don't think you could have said that about the Catholic Central team that lost to Belleville in 22 and the loss to Northville in 23. But last year I think that's one that got away, and they know it. So I would expect them to make it to the semifinals. But of course, when they actually start playing tough opponents like Central Catholic and Orchard Lake St. Mary's, that's when we're really going to figure it out. And now let's take a look at the KLAA West standings. Not that this means anything. It's totally arbitrary because no one actually played a conference game this time around. I'm really only showing this because I get to put Salem on top at number 1 right now. This is ordered by ranking and then the point differential in those games. Remember, no conference games yet, so this is totally unofficial. But yeah, so Salem, speaking of Salem though, 54 unanswered points against Utica Ford. Now, I don't know how good Utica Ford is, but I don't think you score 54 points and aren't legit, you know? Not saying the Salem Rocks are going for the championship this year, but, you know, this could be a little bit of their Cinderella story. I've seen a little bit of hype for the Salem team in the offseason, so you never know, you never know. Under that, we've got Howell, who went up against Traverse City West. I think they're going to be good again this year. The Highlanders, Plymouth, quite literally a one-score game, 7-0 against Monroe. And then, of course, Northville, we've already talked about them. The teams that unfortunately did not secure a victory. Heartland lost to Oxford 23-7. Brighton lost to Dexter 50-27. Dexter is a legit team, a really, really good team, so I wouldn't be too worried if you're a Brighton fan. Also a Heartland fan, Oxford's really good too. Canton on their brand new field lost to Churchill. And down at the bottom, I think this was a little bit of a surprise. Traverse City Central beat Novi 46-3. I saw it on Goose Poop. That's a weird sentence, but I saw it on there that Novi was favored for that game, and they lost by a pretty big margin. So week 2, we've got conference games. They are beginning. Plymouth at Northville, Salem at Howell, Brighton at Canton, Novi at Heartland. Plymouth at Northville is the next game for Northville. Both teams 1-0, so one team will unfortunately be getting their first loss of the season. Northville has had the edge over Plymouth for the last couple years, but you never know because Plymouth hasn't won a week 1 game since the pandemic. Now they've done it, so you just never know. It'll be a fun one, and there will be some sort of video about it, whether it's a YouTube short or maybe something like this. But anyway, that's it for tonight. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.